Okay.
Let's call this meeting at the Ocean Highway Port Authority together. Today is July 10th at 6 p.m. We'll start with the invocation given by Commissioner Michael.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this great, wonderful country that we live in. We pray now that you would be with our leaders, that you would give them wisdom and discernment, that you would watch over our first responders and our servicemen and women, that you would meet with us tonight and give us the wisdom and discernment we need to make the right decisions concerning the Port Authority. We ask all this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Commissioner Cole,
Here.
Commissioner Fullwood, Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
Chair Hill.
Here.
Thank you.
To recognize Mayor Miltovich in attendance, Commissioner Ross, and candidate for District 2, Jimmy Beverly. I don't have any public comment cards, but if anyone intending would like to turn them in, I will receive them. Yeah. Okay. So next item is regular business approval of minutes. We can take them together separately, June 12th and June 26th. What's your pleasure?
Move for the approval of that.
That's it.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries. Next item, 434.
Chair. Everybody's been pretty busy, as you know, for the attorney report of the property prison case. We had a conversation this morning with counsel for the port operator and outside counsel regarding their involvement in the case and our tender of defense, and all the details given these pending litigation, but we are taking steps to formalize that process, get them involved. As you know, the property prison denied our tax exempt status for 2024, so we've got to address that. And we're working with how to do that, whether to go the traditional route and challenge the value adjustment board as we've done in the past, or to bring it into litigation, which is a little bit more complicated. We've also done that in the past. So that's being taken care of. We've got some T's and I's to dot, cross the dot, respectively. We're working on that. If you have any questions on that case, please reach out to me directly. As you know, last week we had mediation in what we refer to as the piloting case, and came to a tentative agreement. The city attorney provided a draft settlement agreement last week that we went through and returned the revised draft to her. She had some minor comments, and so I think the city is scheduling it for one of their commission meetings in early August. And so I've sent that all to you. You all have seen it, and so we can get it on agenda for this board's approval. And I don't know whether that'll be later this month. I'm not going to be here on the fourth Wednesday of the month, which I think is a budget workshop, if I remember correctly. Hopefully we would have time to do it in early August if that's your preference, or we can set a special meeting, whatever you want to do. It looks like that agreement is at least teed up for respective board approval. Again, if you have any comments on that document or questions, please reach out to me directly. We are still working on the draft purchase and sale agreement initially provided by counsel for the operator. We kind of exchanged some comments back and forth, and we have a sort of a package to get back to them probably tomorrow, which also is going to include a proposed amendment to the operating agreement that will set forth the terms of the transfer and the use of the vessel being a priority to be used here at port. So I would send that around to all of you, either depending on what time we get out here tonight, either later tonight or tomorrow morning, for you to look at. It's taken us some time because we wanted to go back. Part of the suggestion of the chair to look at the previous purchase and sale agreement when the title was originally acquired. And then there are some questions about how it was originally acquired, with Worldwide, and whether there was an initial loan, and so we're trying to make sure we understand how all that works, how it was titled and registered, that we're conveying only what we have and those kind of things, so it's a little bit more complicated. I know you haven't fully decided on what it is you want to do with that vessel, but we're preparing the documents for you to review, and then you all to decide. It's not, I don't want it to the impression to be made, this is what I think you should do. The purchase and sale, the draft purchase and sale agreement was provided by the operator, and so we went through it and edited it, made suggestions and comments, and we're going back and forth. It'll be up to you all whether that document's acceptable, whether that's the transaction you want to proceed with, and so we can get you, I'll get you the documents, but I'm assuming this will be an early August kind of debate and discussion. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I don't know if you want to get into the real estate broker listing agreement now. I can save my comments for when it's on the agenda, but I've provided some information here about the deed restrictions, and then there are some terms in the listing agreement I think I consider addressed, and I can turn this to your attention at that point on the agenda if you want, or we can jump to it now. It's up to you. Okay. If you look at the agreement itself, obviously there are some blanks that need to be addressed. The first being, what's the term of this agreement? What's the beginning and ending date? Is it going to be 4 months, 6 months, 12 months? You know, you all need to decide that. There's no price listed. I think the broker probably added its handwritten comment or additional items in section 14 says list price to be determined. So you all need to figure out what that's going to be. So that's just some blank information. The rest of the agreement or listing agreement is pretty standard. I will point out in section 8, there's a 6% brokerage commission. Again, just pointed that out to see whether that's what you all want to do, whether you find that acceptable. And then section 11, which Mr. Fullwood brought to my attention, if this agreement is terminated at seller's request, you all as a seller, there's some expenses that the broker is requiring, reimburse the broker for all direct expenses incurred in marketing the property. We don't know what those are, at least I don't remember them being proposed or explained, and then a cancellation fee of $1,000. So I would ask you all to take a look at that and consider that, whether you find it acceptable. And then in section 14, I think you would want to add whatever deed restrictions you're imposing on this property. The deed restrictions would have to be set forth in the actual deed conveying the property and reported in the public record, so that they're preserved and everybody's on notice, and that's the proper way to do it. But if you want to list them in the agreement so that the broker is telling potential purchasers, hey, the property is going to be restricted pursuant to these deed restrictions, I would recommend that. Pardon me. I put it in my attorney report, just some brief details on the property. Currently zone R2 provide for single and multi-family structures we discussed. And then listed it here are deed restrictions that have been discussed by you and presented by the public. These are not my recommendation. These are what you all discussed. So that's an acceptance and acknowledgement that the purchaser is moving into an area that is immediately adjacent to an active industrial facility or a working port, so moving to a nuisance kind of concept. The lot width minimum, detached single-family structures only has been discussed. The structures running or facing North 3rd Street, and then some increased buffers on Dade and North 3rd Street to kind of give some space and some buffer, for lack of a better word. So those all need to be hashed out by you all. I think these are pretty easy to explain and to add on, and I think that's what you all discussed, but I'm just putting it in front for discussion and consideration. I will start with the language in the listing agreement and kind of go from there.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Rebecca? The next item is the Port of report.
Evening. You have the treasurer's reports in your packet. Nothing, so we received the harbor admin and brokering fees for several months. I think that's 4 months at least. So we received that. That's about it as far as on the income side, and then just the normal expenses for the port operations for the commission and the legal and admin and accounting and things. So nothing unusual. On page 2 is the operating, or you may have it on page 1, are the balances in the accounts as of June 28th. That's the report, unless anybody has any questions.
Did you have outstanding budget request items from I saw some email traffic, but I don't know if they were all resolved about budget items that you were needing for that. I think one was related to the legal budget.
So I've received, yes, I've received, and from the office administrator, so I've received those for it. So obviously we're getting ready for the next meeting when we'll discuss the budget in detail. I haven't made any changes yet to the budget as proposed. Obviously, I'll change the legal and the admin to what they've submitted. But yeah, there's been no changes to the budget as of yet. So, and we'll discuss that in more detail next meeting, I'm assuming. So.
Any questions over here?
So just FYI, I will not be I'll be obviously, I'll be at the budget, but I won't be at the August 14th meeting. I'll be out of town, so yeah, be gone, so.
Okay, and we need to vote on budget, for the October start of this year, so it's a September meeting. So
Right, so obviously we'll have 2 meetings in September. I'll be here for if we have a second meeting in August, at the end of August, I'll be here. And then we have obviously 1 or 2 meetings in September with, the plan to, at one of those 2 meetings in September, to actually adopt the budget. Hopefully we'll get most of it resolved at the next meeting, at the July 26th meeting, or whatever the date is. And hopefully, so there shouldn't be any issues.
All right. Okay. Any questions from here? All right. IDE, report for the operating reports. You're up, Greg.
So May and June, we had good volumes, lots of calls from our customers, and it's to the point where our warehouses are full. And the yards, again, it's full. Oh, yes. So all the warehouses are full right now. We also have a lot of containers, a lot of container-like products there. So the yard is full also. We expect it to probably stay full for the rest of the year, considering what volumes our customers have coming. And the Great Lakes service starts this month. The barge is en route to the port now, and it should sail roughly the 17th or 18th. It is completely locked in yet, but that should be around that.
Is it all warehouses full, are you having any operational issues?
No, it's if we took on an unscheduled vessel, we would have to get creative.
And any with staffing issues?
No,
That's good.
yeah, so good couple of months back to back.
New numbers are down, total tonnage, quite a bit. That is reflective of ships in and out at certain times.
Yeah, because some people are multiple times a month, others are every quarter, some are every 2 months. And so every once in a while they'll line up and have just kind of an off the charts month, and then other times they'll line up with quiet. So I think from memory, I should try to do it. But it was kind of lining up to where think August was gonna be an off the charts month and November was gonna be an off the charts month, where lots of kids and customers wanted at the same time. Just in our forecast and schedule.
And the bills.
Yeah, yeah. And questions?
Yeah, so, in terms of optimizing the workflows at the port, we don't have a TPO meeting tomorrow, because there isn't a TPO meeting in July, but next month there will be TPO and TAC meetings. And, Smart North Florida, is a good incubator for just solving logistics problems. Doing inspections, like they actually were one of the first to have a drone go underwater and fly. And do inspections that were previously done, like the piers and bridges that were done even by people on boats. So I think it would be a good opportunity to bring Kyle or someone from your operations to some of those meetings, just to get ideas and see if there's any opportunities for using that knowledge base, so that they're available to us, it's probably the benefits of membership in the TPO.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, the TPO board meeting is more of the executive, it's fast paced, you don't get down to the nitty gritty as much, but you're able to work from smart people and, the different incubators, the Clean Fuels Coalition, does a presentation usually. But the TAC is really rare, they're working to solve problems and put resources with work groups from the counties. You have ideas and problems, they have people, smart people solving problems for very cheap.
Yeah, we'd love to participate, so. I mean, that.
Any other questions for Bergen? Okay. Let's see, we did the time reports, port issues repairs, do you have updates to that or the capital improvements?
We did execute quite a bit of major maintenance. We've got, I think, 3 maintenance reversing requests that are on the way, so Kyle's preparing this now, so we should submit those before the next meeting.
And what are those pertaining
They're I can't remember it all. One of them was the finalization of the roof that was repaired, wind damage, and storm damage. And so that was done and completed, and now we have final cost for it, so we put that together. I think there was an adjustment to the cameras, and we have a final cost there. And then another one related to cranes.
There was.
That's just for memory, last time we talked was we have these parents.
Okay, and is the idea that those are coming out of grants, or they would be coming out of maintenance reserve?
Maintenance reserve.
And then, there's an item here, request for consideration vote at the meetings.
That was, I wanted to just request, see if it was possible, get the commission's opinion of reducing back to 1 meeting per month on just a 7-week.
In terms of having your, like, someone from the board in attendance, or for the board to not be that.
Either of those.
Right, yeah, I think our agendas have been pretty long, and so we made the decision back, I think it was 3 years ago, to go to 2 meetings a month.
The reason we did that, we were doing our master plan, and we needed 2 meetings a month, because we were working on our master plan and having people come in and having discussions, so I don't have a problem hearing that. You can't hear me? No. You need to get closer. Because I got my phone, well, I guess it's off now. Can you hear me, folks? Good. Rosanna, this my phone's battery, I guess, is not. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That's all, okay. So anyway, I don't have a problem going one meeting a month unless we need a special meeting to do budget work or any other work. It's up to the rest of the board.
We still have a lot of stuff on our plate right now, so I think once we get, you know, some of these cleared off, which we're getting there, I think we should go back. But that's, you know, what can be cleared.
We'll set it, not sure. I don't want to take some time. I think that, and I understand, I think, the correct one is, you know, having your team here, coming, being in town, and making sure that you're here for meetings. If we still did 2 meetings a month, make sure that we're, you know, on top of, also that we're looking at here, but for you coming here, your reports in what pertains directly to you and your team, maybe we do minimize that to you just being here in the first meeting or that second meeting. But I think, I mean, I'm not opposed to being here, twice a month, meeting twice a month, but I think we need to kind of scale back a little bit. Your presence, I don't see an issue with that.
Or they don't, you know.
If we could just align everything that we have on the first meeting of the month.
We'll just talk about you and that.
What's that?
We'll talk about.
Oh, that's.
Get back background. I think as long as we have regular, meetings in addition to this, which we've been good, I thank you very much for being available to talk at other times.
Yeah,
So not just for me, but for others.
But you have to fly in twice, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I think our focus, I'm trying to keep my team's focus on growth and performance, at the board and with our customers. And so I want to, I like taking this so that they can worry about that and focus on the tasks they have. But yeah, if we could scale my portion back to once a month, it'd be great.
It was really nice to have, Virginie here to talk about like specific commodities and goods. At the last meeting that she was here, I think we could have her at least, you know, periodically.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, keep them all excited for that.
Pretty mad for us.
Yeah,
I think she's a little overwhelmed. That's me.
Okay.
You know, our meeting,
And
that's a good right job. Good.
Yes, sir.
I think what we need to do in a case like this, rather than sit here and say, we're just gonna reduce it back to 1 meeting a month. When we have that first meeting in the month, if we have pressing issues, then we will schedule that meeting at that time. If they can come, so be it. If they can't, so be it. But we need to be about the people's business. This is not for convenience. We just need to make sure that we don't put off tomorrow what we can do today. So scheduling a meeting second week of the month, and then having to put something off until the second week of the upcoming month. I don't agree with that. If we've got something pressing, then we have a second meeting. If we don't, then we make that determination at that meeting.
So is there consensus to try, 1 meeting a month with Greg here, just for the first meeting? If that works, we'll proceed, and if we have the issues, then we would modify.
Yeah, we'll need a second meeting, then we'll need a second meeting.
Excellent. All right, full business. Open property sale listing agreement. So we heard from Patrick, what he suggested, items were for inclusion. We've heard from members of the community, and you all were copied on, an email that Ms. Kosak sent to the board about some of the key restrictions that have been discussed at various meetings. What I would like to see is the listing agreement in whatever form to be published with the agenda with those edits included. If the board is open to having the next regular meeting, our next meeting is a budget workshop. So the next regular meeting will be August 1st, second week of August.
So we want to discuss some of those things to be included tonight, or we all have to provide your comments to Patrick separately, how do you want to get that?
We've got time, and we'll discuss them over tonight.
But I've seen that list and I agree with that.
Was that, you're the top, we agree, please. You're getting it, you agree.
Well,
Mr. Griffin was, traveling, I talked to him today, he's traveling today, he couldn't be here tonight.
But if that's how you want to proceed. If that's how you want to proceed, it would help me to have more consensus on, especially the ones that I mentioned, the section 1 term, section 3, the listing price. Section 8, the commission, and section 11, the expenses upon termination. Those are written in, obviously, the deed restrictions, but as part of the agreement itself, those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 that I need direction on. And then we can get into the deed restrictions, but rather than hearing from you individually, I'd rather hear collectively, this is what we want the agreement to look like. I can go back and then propose changes to list the deed restrictions, and then we can have a final version for you at the office meeting.
But do you want to get it in 6 months or a year? For the time,
I recommend a year and. I agree
well,
with
this
this.
is the problem is, if he doesn't sell it, say in 8 months. And we fire him, then we have to pay him $1,000.
Okay,
Within 6 months, we can always extend it another 6 months. We won't need to.
And there is a term in paragraph 8D that defines the protection period that trails that period. So if you decide on 6 months tonight, or if we do, then if there is a transaction 90 days after that 6 months, that's deemed to be within the protection period. So a portion of the fee would be payable to the
Right, and you can also ask to reduce that to, 30, 60, got 90, so that's.
We can reduce it 30 days.
So
Is that for any transaction?
Is that
Any transaction 90 days after the end of the agreement,
what he's saying?
not someone he's introduced us to? I would say 0 days.
0? Yeah.
If he hasn't introduced us to the person, obviously if he's introduced us to the person, but if he hasn't introduced us to the person, why would 90 days after the 6 months end?
Yeah. I agree.
No, it says, any prospect is doing seller broker, yeah, you're right. If you relist it, it doesn't happen, if somebody comes along in that period of time.
Yeah. I say, I mean, obviously, if he's introduced us to that person, it's different. But if he hasn't introduced us to that person within the 6 months, then no, 0.
Yeah.
Is my view. I mean, he's got 6 months, to find someone. Again, what you're saying, what this to me says is that if we sell it basically 90 days after you stop working on it, we owe him money?
No, to the same person, or somebody he'd already introduced to us.
Nope.
No, don't know what it said.
Any real estate license, communicated. So it's not just some random off the street, but I don't know how you determine somebody saw a sign or a flyer or what have you, but before we go to 8, are we on a 6-month term? Is that the consensus?
I think so. Agree. Yeah, no, good about it.
I'll go with 0, but
6-month term.
And then I don't know if you have any information on what you want the listing price to be, or if you need some information from him on that, or suggestion from him on that, or what?
I had some put together, and I don't, it's been a while since, we looked at the proposal that we submitted, but it's put together the comps. To give us an idea of what it's worth.
I think all of them did, all of them beginning, and I'm gonna go back and look and see what he suggested. There are,
Well, why don't I ask him to propose that, and it'll be in the version for you to review.
no, we didn't decide to do that. I don't know.
Uh,
He's not going to not open.
And then the commission is currently at 6%.
I thought it was 6% of the users.
6% for the co-broker, but it's still 6%.
Broker fee shall be reduced to 5% if sold in-house with no co-broker.
I don't know what that means.
That means if he sells it by himself and not using a co-broker or another broker for any kind of service or.
Again,
The buyers are represented.
Yeah. So it's saying 5%, he doesn't himself. We can just tell him, you have to do it himself. I don't know why co-broker, not even coming back, get the co-broker. It's somebody that recommends somebody to him.
It's standard, if another, real estate agent brings the buyer to him,
Yeah.
then that's the.
no, that's an individual provision. That's where it goes really through. That's why I don't quite understand this.
Which would make the 6%, but then if he goes and gets it on his own, he gets if he secures the buyer on his own, that's now just the 5%, so he's cut down that. So he's getting more, because he's not just getting 3%, he's getting more, but he's cutting off that 1%.
I'll confirm that with him. There's a typo in here, and it's not terribly well written, so I'll confirm that with him. So it's 5% for him alone, is that the consensus? Okay. And then 11, the expenses and cancellation.
Is that standard?
It's standard language. The 1,000 is something he put in. There's no cap to expenses incurred in marketing. We have no idea how much that is. So if you want to suggest a cap, or if you want to go back to 0, or you want to go back to 500, it's.
And several of the real estate brokerages, major brokerages that come to town recently have undercut the 6%.
Yeah.
So we could go lower than that, and we could go for,
Back on the commission. Okay, because I was talking about the fees.
talking about eight.
We're still on that. So there's not consensus on that.
Yeah, so I had a question about how these MLS service fees are split, because I know there's been a decision, a US Supreme Court decision that says with real estate listings that the MLS fee split is invalid. It's a restraint on trade. So that was my question to you, was like, has the form been updated for residential listings since then? Because I think it would have to have been. And either that or it has to be individually negotiated with each buyer and seller, so that for the new, or whoever brings the deal, it will be negotiated at that time, not prospectively for a co-brokerage.
But you're negotiating this deal right now. So.
With our broker, but not with the buyer. So the buyer's broker, I mean, they wouldn't have to accept an MLS version of this. If this isn't up to date, this wouldn't be valid. So I just want to make sure this is his most current. I mean, has he told you that
He
this is?
said this just last week or early this week.
So this is the MLS, National Social Journalist.
I was thinking it doesn't come into effect until sometime in August, what you're talking about. Where I think it doesn't come into effect until August, where the buyer and seller would each have to procure their own broker and incur their own fees, essentially. So I think,
So basically, we wouldn't be responsible for the buyer's share of fees.
right. And it would come out of the buyer's side of, in other words, it'd be essentially 3% on the seller side.
So that right there saves us potentially thousands of dollars in fees. Well, thank you, dear.
And I think it comes about August 17th is the date I'm looking at.
Yeah, right now under 10, if there's cooperation with another broker, it's 3 and 4. But that's because it's 6 and 8. Right, so if we're changing 8, then you know what that number is, and that would impact 10. And it may also impact the additional item number 2 that you added. So that's why I need to know what the consensus on 8 is, and then the rest of it will go from that.
I'm okay with 6.
Would you mind taking a look at what Pierre is doing, like, from a legal perspective, and just giving us some options?
Sure.
I don't feel like I'm, like, well, informed on.
Like, I don't need to know that it takes effect in August, but. Yeah, sure, we know.
Internet's a little slow, so trying to get more detail.
Did anybody have any feedback on the list price or waiting on that too?
What those other, yeah, I was gonna ask him to propose that, but that is for your consideration.
Okay, and then are we also gonna ask him to tell us what the direct expenses are gonna be, like, the cap on that or something?
That's what I'm asking, is what you wanna do with section 11.
Yeah, I think if he could give us a ballpark, so we know what to cap that at. So it would be all direct expenses, but shall not exceed X.
And what about cancellation? We're looking,
So right now it says that it's direct expenses, including marketing and $1,000.
what, we need to know what the expenses would be, and I got that, what about the cancellation? There are 2 different things, there are expenses on marketing and cancellation.
Well, that is if we terminate the agreement within 6 months.
Both of those things are. Like, you terminate the agreement, he's gonna charge you his marketing expenses and charge you your cancellation.
Right.
So I'm gonna ask him, what's the cap, what's the estimate, what are these marketing expenses?
Yeah.
What about cancellation? We want to tell them we're not paying one, or we're paying a cap of X, or
That's 0.
I need to get it from them.
I'm just
What was that?
0. Cancellation fee. He's already getting it marketing. Obviously, he has a lot of upside. He's getting 6% if we sell this property.
He can get one or the other. He gets the cancellation and it's a done deal, or he goes with marketing expenses.
I don't think that'd be over $1,000.
So we could say, direct expenses incurred marketing and cancellation fee. No comment there. So both of those not to exceed $1,000.
That would be acceptable.
I'd like to know what his fees are first, before we set up.
So where is the revenue gonna come from in that fee and the? If it's up to $1,000 or that was marketing, whatever that amount is, where are we getting that from the budget?
Well, if we don't cancel it within 6 months, we don't have to pay it. That's what we need, what his fees are.
Well, I mean, respectfully, the board composition is going to be different within like a very short period of time. That's inevitable. And so we're setting ourselves up with this agreement, and the $1,000 would be, we'd be on the hook for. And the will of that board will likely be different. So I would just like to know where that $1,000 is.
Say if we don't cancel the fee, we don't have to, don't cancel the agreement, we don't have to pay it.
We could put a portion of our income in escrow,
What's that?
put a portion of our salaries in escrow. for the future board.
We need to move on with this and get this property listed. I don't know, most of y'all live on the island, but they're putting homes on lots that I never thought they were allowed, lot that a home can put on, so we're waiting, we're wasting time. We need to move forward, we need to get this done. Because the longer we wait, this is what comes out of it. We need to move forward and we need to get it listed and let this man do his job.
I think no cancellation fee, and we need to know what his fee can be. We need to make a decision. We'll have to go forward.
I got you.
Okay.
I need everybody else to tell me what they want to see. That's the problem.
That's what I'm putting out.
That's what I'm-
So you need to tell us what the marketing fees are, and there's no cancellation fee.
Okay.
Or just, you could just offer a cap of $2,500 on marketing fees.
Again, I wanna know where that would come from. But he needs to tell us, show us for the market.
Okay, we'll have them on the. Alright, so people, we just recap, we did in 6-month term, we're gonna get from him, counselor, a suggested listing price. We're gonna get some information on ineligible, and initially there was a consensus of a 5% commission, that no longer what we want to propose, instead we want to know what the deal is with how these commissions work now, is it ruling or both or one?
Both.
Okay. And got another. All right. Now on to the deed restrictions, which we would list in 14. And I've listed out some of the ones that were discussed previously that are in the return report. So if those are all of them, I got it. If they want to take them out or add to them, that's what I need.
How much property would we lose if we put it in a buffer? It would require.
Yeah. Seeing
I know if it's poor property that we own.
that's not a survey, that's just a line on the website.
None of the other houses, none of them had buffers, we were required as a board holder to have a buffer for our property that nobody else. That I'm aware of. My favorite certain property. That's the city required.
Not put buffer at all, maybe.
Unless the city requires it. And that would be,
Well, I think I remember sitting up there, we had some of the neighbors here, we told them, we said, hey, we're gonna go deed restrictions, the 50-foot wide, lot minimum, and we'd also would buffer. I remember that conversation being had.
I'm here, it's our property. We do a lot, we got to put the property. For, believe. To require a buffer. We haven't had.
But there isn't currently on that
None.
boundary.
But there's not a buffer in any of the houses around here.
But there wouldn't be a buffer between the industrial zone property and this property. Because there isn't any on our property either.
Well, it's across the street. Like, I'm confused on how a buffer on this property holds over. I think maybe the intent was that it keeps people from complaining that they're too close to the port, but it's. I'm confused as how an increased buffer on this property benefits Oakland or protects Oakland in the future. If you restrict it for detached single family minimum 50 feet wide, and you add an acknowledgement that this property is, across the street adjacent to an active industrial facility, I don't know what a buffer does for you, because it's for the benefit of the person buying the property, not over. If supposedly,
If the person that's buying the property wants to put a head up, that would be a buffer. And it would be up to them to do that. If they don't want to do that, we shouldn't be putting heads up. It would destroy part of the property.
you have unpaid right of way and then paid right of way in between on both sides. So, just from a land use lawyer, I don't know how any increased buffer on this parcel benefits or protects both of them. I think you're probably going to get two homes on this piece of property, and so only one of them will be next to the court.
Yeah, so a buffer on that west side. I mean, because we're basically selling off land we own now, but we have control over that isn't occupied by a completely neighbor, right? And so there's a benefit to that, there's a benefit to the whole community that it's public land that isn't developed either as a sport or as a home. Because it is serving as a form of a buffer.
Right.
If you preserve a buffer on the west side, then this developer, whoever builds the property out, they may not be able to commit. And 2 or 3 owners down the way, there's a requirement that buffer be maintained, but it's not on our property, but we would benefit from that buffer being there because we wouldn't have a complaining neighbor right after right away.
But you're also going to have a deed restriction that says you're on notice, you're living next to the court. Right,
That's,
so,
I think would be the only, I'm just trying to explain the buffer.
yeah, and you've also got a potential deed restriction that you want the structures facing Third Street, which is facing toward the court. So that's even.
And there's no buffer. Where would the buffer go?
I'm sorry, exactly, it's contradictory.
Unless it's like a Amelia Park style walkway with no,
Well, the buffer doesn't mean you have to plant something, it just means you can't put the structure there. Right, so it could just be front yard. But if you're gonna require this, at least one of those structures face Third Street, then an increased front yard is essentially a front yard setback is now what you're asking for. Because you wouldn't vegetatively plant that. It's a little bit contradictory, and it may be a situation where a person comes along and says, I don't even know how to do that, so I'm not gonna buy it. Maybe that's an outlier, I don't know, just when I think of it from what I do mostly on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't jive.
One of the community members wanted, one house to face Third Street, and the other was State Street.
I don't see how you're not gonna get 2 houses facing Third Street.
No,
Not with a 50-foot wide lot. So you have one house, and that's another problem with that deed restriction. And the suggestion was, if possible, that's not a deed restriction, you don't say if possible. You either say you have to do it, or you don't say it. So. And that kind of goes back to my previous comment before, I think your deed restriction should be detached single family, minimum 50-foot wide lot, and that's it. And the rest of it, they have to comply with the city code, you can put that as a deed, that's already involved. So you really want to limit how you're restricting the property, because it's either gonna be something really complicated, you're gonna have to enforce later, or nobody can buy it.
I agree.
So I think if you do, moving to a nuisance language, which you can develop 50-foot wide minimum lot, detached single family structure, period.
That's the 2 main things that the community.
And they'll have to comply with all code setbacks, orientation. It could be even a situation where, for whatever reason, especially the size, that, the mailboxes need to be on Day Street, so that's the evidence. I don't know. I don't want you to paint yourself in the corner with a list of deed restrictions that were suggested and maybe not entirely thought out.
I would not add. Whatever. I believe. No,
No.
Back to yourself.
Just follow the city guidelines. That's all we have to do.
But you got a house to the south of it, you got a house to the east of it,
Right.
and there's no problems there. So let's not create a problem.
I agree.
So if you do, moving to a nuisance, I heard 50-foot wide minimum, that the consensus there. And then detached anything.
Anything else on this agreement?
I will get with the broker and we'll have after the August meeting.
That's great, thanks. All right, so, I would just like to add on that item that I know not all members of the board are going out and talking to the public as much as candidates for office are, but Vice Chair Taylor can vouch for this because I know he's attended several events. The public's not in favor of selling land. And, the phrase burning the furniture to keep warm has been said a couple of times. It's not a positive move. I've also received a letter, and I guess it was based off of what was published in the newsletter, that
Hope was selling his land to pay the title. I think that's what's expected, is that money will be available for the title payment. So
No.
the proceeds are currently not restricted. We're selling land. This listing here is selling land.
I can't tell you why, excuse me, I can't tell you why, but it's not good, but it's not.
But there's no restrictions on the proceeds currently. Anyone can rate it. The operator can make a claim on it. Anyone can rate that money for any purpose, and there's no restrictions. In what was passed, I want you to be clear, and later when that money's gone, just like the $860,000. The land is gone, just remember this day.
Okay.
Well, business, 8B, open document request to the board auditor. Did you have an update on that? I know-
And we're working on it, what we're doing is making a list of what's been provided versus what we asked for. So we are working on it and I'm communicating with council for the operator.
Chair, yeah, one comment, ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. You're telling me that there's such a complex accounting system that they can't give us, in simple terms, what the tugboat has made since they took it over in July 2020. I'm not gonna sit here for a minute and even act like I believe that's true. Not going to. That is obstruction. And a case can be made for obstruction. You're not gonna tell me. I would love to see what's been reduced. I would love to see it.
So we do have some records that were requested back, via public records request, and Rosanna has those. Which show the number of vessel calls, and I think it's a rough estimate of the total records. And then we have
some documents from the operator.
We do have some documents, so we could come up with an estimate, and if we have, a top of the line number, I think this board should discuss what we think our share of that should be to be prepared as part of the, operational go forward, as what percentage we want of that. And what do we want to do with the tax amount? Because to the point that we're talking about selling the hub and, I'm just 1.5, but we're talking about selling the hub and entering into a purchase and sale agreement and amending the operating agreement. And then there is any portion of that revenue that go to offset some of the other, operational costs recurring, we do know what is.
It's not a surprise. We've been asking for the information and asking for shared revenue since whatever.
When Commissioner Fuller would request information from Worldwide Terminals, and it got to my desk, Commissioner Fuller got exactly what he wanted at the time of manner. It wasn't my position to question him why he was asking for it or not. Now, if what that tugboat is making is such a secret, then I think this board ought to be advised of that. But outside of that, that tugboat at this hour is owned by this board and the people of the county. It's not owned by Savage. We have a right to that information. And because we've been asking for that information since September, or July of 2022, actually September of 2022, and still haven't got it, but bits and pieces, tells me there's a problem. Now, if anybody would like to enlighten me a little bit, I'm listening. But it's not difficult. It's vessel times 2, with the exception of Summers Isle. There's your formula. You got a tug on a vessel in, you got a tug on a vessel out, with the exception of Summers Isle, and I was in the room the day that was agreed to. Now, it can't be that hard. It cannot be that hard. And for this board to continually be told, we're working on it, and then we even had a comment that we're not there because there's no. I bet not.
Well, I'll prioritize what we have and get it to you.
I would like to see it,
Yeah,
because I wish I had access to the records that I left. I could give you that information in front of us. It just seems to me that it can't be that top secret. It's our total, it's the taxpayers' total. Why don't we have that information in a timely manner? Something is not right with this.
Rosanna, could you send to the board again that Philip request response? Send it
Yes.
circulated it before, please. And I think it was just for 2 years, so then there was the most recent reporting, which I know Greg, he provided to us. Just high level. Also, so it's just taking those 2 parts and putting them together.
The response was, we have the documents, the revenues are embedded in customer invoices. They're in and over the Blue House, you're welcome to come and look at them whenever you want. That was months ago, so they're waiting for you.
I think what you said, but I know that in every invoice I saw and that I was part of producing, every vessel invoice had all the terminal charges, including the tug, on that invoice. If all we're asking for is what that tug is generating in 18 months, that should not be hard to find. Every vessel bill, every bill that you send to the agent for that vessel, I guarantee you has that tug charge.
Yeah, so I said, no, they're at the Blue House, their schedule of time, you can come and see it.
This man has asked for it. Now we're finding out 18 months later that the Blue House.
And when she sends you the response, you'll see that was our response.
Y'all hear what he's saying? I hope you do. Don't make sense to me. If that was the case, we could have taken care of this 18 months ago. But to say that we're not prepared to give you those numbers, we're working on, and then you send our attorney bits and pieces don't add up. This is the first time that I've heard out of anybody's mouth from Savage saying that those figures were at that blue house. I know that it may not be at the blue house, it may be, but I know it's in the store. Because I actually viewed invoices that came from Savage that had children. So I know what I'm talking about. I just don't understand why it hasn't been brought to the board.
That's. Simply,
It hasn't.
This is the notice we gave you.
When was it sent?
I guess I don't remember the exact date, it was months ago. It's all documented. You can go look at it.
You just said all documents. Have you got all documents?
I said it's all documented.
Sure it is. There's no other way for you to collect your revenue if you don't document
I'm
it.
telling you, the emails was sent. She's got to,
With all due respect, we should have had this back in September, October, the first.
that can explain why.
There is no reason. It's a simple process. And your accounting system can be such far out that it can't pull up a specific account, which is the tug, which is the mooring service, the docking service. I bet you can go tell me how much you charged the customer since, July 2022 for security. It's on the same invoice. Should be a simple deal. I think I made my point. I would like to see these documents that they sent you back.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there, but I just think it's obstruction of information to this board. This board governs that board. We are responsible for that board and its operation. And why we haven't got this information is any other commissioner have any more questions?
No, I mean, I agree. I think everybody needs to have control over revenues that derive from the board. And it's up to this board to work with the operator to come up with, what granularity achieves that goal. But it's a requirement of charter. And our operating agreement says then we will discuss and agree on the revenue share for anything that's not specifically included in the operating agreement. And, notably, this wasn't part of the original agreement. This was added later. And so I think we should either receive a share of the revenue of the tug, or we should at least been able to get enough information to have a conversation. So I agree. But I also hear what you're saying about not always tracking revenues by asset. However, in this case, it's been reported to bondholders that it's a fixed cost structure asset. So it's notable enough to tell our bondholders that the costs associated with this asset are fixed and the revenue is variable. And so that's notable to our bondholders, which makes it, I think, notable to us as an issuer. That's all I'll say about that. I appreciate your responses to our document requests. I don't think it's fair to say that you've been unresponsive. Because we do have that information, and thank you for responding to the public records request also, which is an improvement from what we're looking for. Anything else on that? Okay. Resiliency plan is on here, but you'll notice in the minutes that I actually asked to have that taken off. Since it is on the agenda, did you have anything to update about the grants that we applied for, or are you okay with it being off?
No, I'm okay with it coming off. The grants that we applied for, we made a few responses to each of them and updates just based on that the government had given what the requests are. So we expect to hear back on the EPA grant later in the year or November. It could be December, if that's what we're expecting. Then go to August for the episode.
Awesome. I took Lorelei Jacobs with me to the TPO board meeting. And she followed up with Jeff Sheffield asking for a follow-up meeting, regarding the, city's seawall project because downtown floods. And although there is a high spot between the downtown, waterfront and where we flood, water seeks its level, so, we need to work together in the city. I think everyone recognizes that we need to work together. And, I think she'd be a good partner with, is it Blue?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, that was for the EPA grant.
Okay,
We used to the, EPSA grants.
Yeah. okay. Well, I think it would be good to have a follow-up discussion with whoever Jeff identifies as being like on the engineering technical side, with whoever you identify as being on the engineering technical side. So that, I mean, I'm happy to participate, but I can't speak to the operational requirements. I really don't want to.
Yeah, so some kind of coordination and collaboration would be effort. Okay.
And Lorelei is a dynamo, so once she identifies an opportunity, she's very excited about there potentially being funding, in partnership with the port, because the city has struggled to find funding.
Do they have a plan or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so they've, it's worth it to follow city business, but, they have a report, an engineering report. They, have engaged in discussions about bond referendum, which is not gonna happen anytime soon, but, we have representatives from the city here tonight. If you wanted to ask for the voting, we can do that, but,
I don't think so, but I think when we hear back, in August on the EPSA grants, if that particular one moves forward, then we just engage. Absolutely getting support.
okay, what I might do is, I'll get back with Lorelei and connect her with you so that you all can have a additional discussion. And then I'll have Rosanna is on the agenda for August. So that we can, but I don't think it needs to be on, obviously it won't be on July, because that's just for workshop. Okay. And then I see next item is NAPA trade flex signage. And that's listed as an action item, but I don't think are we intending to put this out for bid, or what does the board want to do for maintenance? I wasn't on the board when the documents for this development were crafted. Did we put anything in our conveyance that said they can't put a sign on their own property, they have to use the sign? Or did we just build a sign and hope that they would want to use it? Do you remember?
No, that's before my time, too. And I would think that the consensus was, and when we discussed it with the, their name, with the orange, forester, that guy was going to maintain the sign, he was going to maintain the property. That was in his agreement, but now it's the new owner, and that new owner says they don't be part of it. So we discussed that, correct?
Well, the original agreement was for a finite period of time, it was maybe a year. And we're like 5 times past that. So it wasn't necessarily just that I don't want anymore, it was long since last new owner, just kind of gone. And it wasn't even really agreeing, it came to a meeting and said, yeah, I'll do that. So there was no document, there was no, the minutes reflected, he said, sure, if you don't need to put a sign up, I'll maintain it for the next, I think it was a year, but there was no agreement, there was written agreement.
Right. And 5 years ago, it was too, the county said, look, y'all, we give it to y'all, and so they gave it back to us, or made us responsible for it. And we've not been responsible for it, maintaining it. So it's in sad shape, but the quote that I furnished, Rosanna with was just to, get it back into shape. And that's not for continued maintenance. So I do the board what y'all want to do with that.
The quote for
Mainly, that's
Just cleaning it up, just,
the one time.
yes, correct, one time. The trees need, palm trees need trimming, all of them. There's a dead one, there's some crepe myrtle trees that need trimming
Are
back.
you talking about the whole right of way all the way down?
No, just that, right, that, just that one strip, right there where the signage is.
That's a one time, it's all gonna go back.
Correct.
Yeah, so I would just think that whenever it was first developed, that in that document, it would say that each property owner would use the sign, and that they would be able to put up their own signs. I mean, isn't that what you would normally do if you're level, you have it all?
I think Roseanne, go back and look at the minutes of that time and see what the reasoning was about what the agreements they had with the property owner. That's where it would be.
Well, there's room for 4 signs on either side, but, you know, if you put your sign on one side, you would probably want it on the other side as well.
Do we have any interest in the trade blocks currently?
Yeah.
No,
Nothing except that we own that property,
just the sign,
just the sign in there.
which was formerly owned by the county.
Correct.
One store.
So what would it take to abandon that property?
Haven't looked into it. I can look at the public records and see if there's some kind of wire better term, HOA, some kind of business association where if anybody else that own land and that business had to contribute. I doubt it, but, or if, for example, reach out to the county and see if they want it back. I don't know how much you want to sink into this.
Yeah.
I'll leave the chop in a bit and do that piece back. There's a reason why in 2017 did.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't.
I don't either.
Well, Rosanna, would you mind doing the research so that Patrick doesn't incur over $495 in legal fees? Thank you. All right, so the next item is 9, new business, and it says none, but is there any new business? Brought, no, I don't think so, okay. Commissioners reports and comments, 10A, new development reports. So at our last meeting, we had a presentation from Craig McDowell. And she gave us a great overview of a potential business partner for the Port of Bernardino. I did have a follow-up discussion with her, and she clarified that that was not intended to be a policy recommendation for sale of land. So I think that was offered in the context of the property sale, but she said that was not her intention with the presentation. So those two things are very separate. I think that was a bit misleading, and I apologize to her for that because I think she was set up a little blindsided by that. But
Not who,
by coming to the podium with an agenda item for the sale of land.
if you wasn't on side, if you had to say, said to do that, what they're looking at in the county, what might be available. And she was never told the property. Reflective of anything we want. Purpose of it.
But that's when she requested your love though, is when we got to the agenda item about the property sale and the revenues.
Exactly, which meant I wanted her to be here so she could tell you, all of them, what might be available out there. What we could possibly be money for if we want to develop anything outside of the core property. You want to set it up. Did she tell you she was set up? I don't think she did. I call her right now.
We should.
Okay.
So that agenda item is supposed to be about the proposed return on investment
for what we would do with our sale proceeds. That was what that was supposed to be about. So what she presented didn't have anything to do with that. So I'm just curious if there is anything to be presented in terms of business development ROI that is related to.
No.
Okay, so we still haven't received that. So I just like to be clear, we have no plan for what we would do with the revenue, even no restrictions on what.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I think this board is smart enough that once that property is sold, and I think that we can sit down and we can put restrictions on it, whatever you want to do. I don't think that we need to keep hashing what we're going to do with the money. Let's keep the horse in front of the cart. Let's sell it. Once we get that revenue, there are banks on every corner that we can invest that money into a commercial interest-bearing account. We can put that money in an account where every transaction has to be a unanimous vote by this board to do anything with it. If that's the way you want to go.
I think we've hashed this out.
I understand. Obviously, we need to understand that this board will control that. And I don't think, I hope not, that there's any spin to this here.
Well, with all due respect, that I'm tonight, the Ocean Highway Port Authority has not made, sound decisions, over the years, that have set, Port Authority up for success. And that's been my concern. And, we found ourselves in a 30-year operating agreement, 2 lawsuits, things that now we're trying to dig out of a hole. And so that's my concern. My concern is, again, jumping the gun, and not looking at long-term sustainability. And I think when you sell off an asset like that, it's a huge problem. And I know we keep rehashing the same thing over and over again. And I'm hoping that somebody, a light bulb goes off, because it's not smart. It's not smart. It's not good business.
Yeah, we've acted against the advice of our council before. This time we're acting against the advice of our accountant, who said we shouldn't sell the capital asset to fund operation expenses. No one has put any restrictions on what we're going to do with the money. And we're on the cusp of having spent all $860,000 of ARPA funding. $860,000. Okay, so if we didn't come up with a great plan for that, and that didn't inure to the benefit of the port employees, not one thing. Tell me how we're gonna do something better with it. When we're selling off land, are any of the other industrial property owners in the city selling land?
Madam Chair, with all due respect, obviously they are, because they're putting houses on every one that's vacant.
Is the port selling land? Yeah, the port selling land.
I want to go back and with all due respect, with all due respect to Commissioner Taylor. Yeah, there was some bad decisions. I was not part of it. Neither were you. So I would hope that the best we can do is change the course of direction. Try to take this port, because that was one of my campaign promises, that I would lead this port on a steady course. Right now, we're in stone. And by sitting on something that could move this port forward and not do anything is irresponsible. Just for the sake of what a few say. Since when does a board govern by what a few say? We need to make sound decisions for the Port of Fernandina, move it forward, get it on that steady course, and let it ride. Bickering about what we're going to do with money is crazy. It says a lot to the county. It says a lot to the people. Make a decision. Let's move forward. I'm willing to stand and be held fully responsible for what I say and do as a commissioner. I'm not running from any of it.
You'll have a resolution before that property is sold, that whole period. That's all I'm gonna say, right?
So the public should just wait and see.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. And I want to hear about the public.
This is public business.
Yeah.
It's public, it's a public asset. You just said you're not worried about
It's
the
for
public.
business.
It's not
Yeah.
yours. It doesn't
It's
belong
for
to you.
business. It's not public business. It's not, public doesn't have any say in it, and whether we sell property or not. I mean, they can say it, but we have to do what's best for the poor.
We settled this for over 16 years.
That's right, I have,
And now
and I know what you
almost
do,
off of it, you want to.
and I know a lot more than you do about it. But let's move on, please.
Does anybody have any other new development reports? All right, committee reports. Port security.
For security, over the last couple of weeks, I have been stopping by and talking to the security. Everything seems to be going well on the security side. The officers have no complaint at this point. So with that being said, moving on to the port facilities report.
I have a question for you about port security. It was brought to my attention that a member of the port security staff was let go at one point, in the last year or so for, closing the gate because certain truck, drivers didn't have foot cards. And so the direction from Customs, from what I understand, was to close the gate, and there was no one from Savage available to, to be reachable on the phone, and so that person was let go. Do you know about this?
Yes.
Okay. And so why didn't that come to the board?
Well, the security incident did come before the board. We did have conversation about it. But what the terminal operator requested was a replacement. Okay, that's strictly their deal. Okay, as the person with security, don't get involved in that. I don't go out there and tell them who to keep and who not to keep.
But
It's not my call. It is our contract, but they felt that it jeopardized their operation. It should not have been done, period. The cause for which it was done was a low security issue. So we discussed it with CBP,
They did approval to let this person go,
Savage.
but it's not their contract.
It's not their contract, but they operate the terminal. And they feel like that issue hindered their operation, which I can see their point. Doing security in terminals for so long, I can see their point. Yes, and this was discussed openly with the contractor. And it was actually mediated between the two sides that it would be best for both parties to do that. It's not for this board to referee. I was called in on it. I went out there, I reviewed it, and as the former FSO for that terminal, I saw that Savage had a reasonable case. It was discussed with both the managers of Allied, and the solution was worked out. Now, why this is coming up 18 months later, or 15 months later, is beyond me, but I can tell you the two sides were discussing it. There was meetings about it. Nobody's trying to hide anything. And when they came to an agreement, it was executed. And to be honest with you, that's exactly how Chad Jones became the site supervisor, because he agreed that if she departed, he would come back as a site supervisor. And I don't want to get into who's related to who. I don't think that has anything to do with this, but it was worked out amicably between the two parties, and it was put to rest.
You know, if you want to know more about what goes on at the court, you will go out to the court sometime. That helps.
Come on out. Yeah. Not there about 3 or 4 times a week. Come on out. But that's, with all due respect, Madam Chair, that's what happened. The security officer did take it upon herself to close those gates and to secure them where the people in couldn't get out and where the people out couldn't get in. And at that moment, it took the wrong avenue. Yeah. They should have contacted Savage instead of CBP. CBP made the decision to close the gate, but after the facts were known, there was no need to close the gate. And in defense,
You said it's Customs made a decision.
pardon,
You said Customs made a decision?
CBP told her to close the gate.
And then she was what? Does what? Right, just make sure.
After a full investigation. I just went through the investigation. It's a serious issue, closed down the court.
Well, Bill, have the privilege of talking with you about, the official business, of the board outside of the meetings, and so that's why I wanted to ask that question. Because
You can ask me any question you choose, I don't care.
I was told that you were part of that decision, and you it hadn't been,
I was not part of the decision. I was there to give my professional opinion. I was called there for my professional opinion, and I gave my professional opinion. What the two parties decided was strictly on them.
So my understanding is that the port security contract is with OPA. And so it would be, those would be decisions on the board, the decision for OPA to make.
No,
There would be, it would come before.
no.
Madam Chair, we have an operating agreement, we have a fourth operator, and it is not our role to micromanage and tell the port operator who they can fire, who they can't fire, and what they need to do on their property.
But they don't employ the security people. I like
You have a
that.
contract for that.
Madam Chair, they've even tried to keep commissioners out of there. And I brought that to you.
So I'm just not clear on why we have a contract if they can hire and fire individual employees.
They can ask management of Allied. Allied is the only one that can deal with the employees.
That's who fired, not Savage.
Savage didn't. Savage made a request for change of supervision. They have that right. We don't have to approve. The post orders are set up between the terminal and Allied. When's the last time anybody on this committee sat in a post order meeting with the terminal and security? I would venture to say never, because that's none of our business. There are certain security issues that are not for public view. That's what the FSP does. It tells in there everything that they should and should not be doing. What they are cannot be discussed. And for anybody at this table to try to get a copy, I got news for you. Good luck. You got to go to the transportation secretary in Washington, D.C. and convince them that you need to know about it. And I can guarantee you that ain't happening.
It is up to the security company to do what they want to with their employees. You don't have to keep saying that. I would never look up, hire anybody.
Well, I'm glad you read the word.
That's a good reason that it didn't come to this board. Because we don't have any, what, it was approved by me. I was asked my opinion by the operator, but any request to the employer of the security company, they have a perfect right When they want more officers, they don't come to us and say, we want to request several more officers to do patrols. They square that away with the operator and move forward. I never brought anything to this board when I was the TM and the FSO. I did what I needed to do. And as the operator, much as I have reservations, Savage has that right. It's their operation and they can conduct business, in the manner that they see fit.
Did you have anything else on security?
Yeah, I do have any facilities. I got a report and I'm concerned. Lee Bear crane number 9. It says it's back in service. But I understand for the last couple of days it hasn't been in service. I understand that 10 is down 9, 10 is down now. But I want to know, and I'd like to ask Greg this now, go on in the report. Why wasn't the vessel work today at 1 o'clock?
Well, I didn't hear that it was scheduled due to the weather. I know a lot of the team left because of the weather.
I know last week I received multiple calls and even took a ride out there. Because at one point, all 3 cranes were down. I understand there was a problem with the mobile harbor, which is the big blue one for anybody that rides by and don't know the difference. That the block will not rotate. And trying to use that vessel to load a container ship is like trying to thread a camel through the eye of the needle. But I understand it's back up as of yesterday or today. But these cranes being down has been an ongoing. I know ever since I've been a commissioner, number 9 has had problems. I don't understand. I know when I was a PM, and I hate to keep saying that, but everything that I did work. I called Lee Bear, had a technician flown up here from Miami, and we were back online. It disturbs me when we can't work a ship for either a personnel problem or a mechanical problem. That's not good.
I agree, it's not good. The equivalent's a lot for now when we're here. And it continues to age, and it continues to need maintenance and overhauling to lead.
I know why number 9 is dead. When you run out of fuel, it's a problem. And I'm not gonna get into the specifics of it. But that can happen. That can happen. There's no way it should happen. You got a fuel truck there. That plane should have been fueled. Number 10, I don't know why we took problems that have been flagged at number 9, but I know the last 18 months, 20 months, and switch them over to 10. What happened there? 10 was the go-to crane. Now number 10 is down. And it's been down. 3 weeks now? 2 weeks? I mean, is there any direction? They say it's electric. I'm just trying to get some understanding. I mean, I've been out there during the week when no cranes are running, even though there's not a ship, you gotta use that equipment, you gotta fire it off.
You're welcome to not troubleshooting with us.
I don't pay to troubleshoot. I do all my troubleshooting ahead of time. If I know I got a problem with a crane, get somebody in there to fix it.
Yeah, we've got people in there, but it's not electrical, it's controls. And not everybody's a controls expert, to fix those. What controls?
Okay, currently down to the electrical drive machines. Technicians on the side. GE was out there when I was out there. I talked to the guy.
It takes time to sort this stuff out, troubleshoot.
But when you have 3 cranes down all at the same time, it's a problem,
Yeah, you're right.
major problem.
Yep.
So I would encourage the board You may not know what you're looking at, but most of us have common sense where you can look at something and tell whether it's right or wrong. I encourage you to go out there. It's just sad to see what's going on. The mobile harbor, I'm told, is back, rotator repaired, last week. I hate to say this, but with what I'm hearing, they may be using the mobile harbor a little back sometime. The warehouses are no changes. We just need to move forward, with trying to get some grant money and get that done, but I can tell you this. We better quit majoring on the mine and start majoring on the heavy problems out there. And that north end of the dock is taking a beating. If you don't believe me, right out there for yourself and just go straight north until you get to the fence and look down. The rail dock canopy has reported that, the roof and everything is secured, gutters are supposed to be put up later this week. I'll keep you posted on that. So with that being said, FDOT, we had a really good meeting with, Al Kaufman. That guy is amazing. He prepares well. We are closing out several of the grants. There are a couple that still need some information to them. We're down to maybe a couple, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Virginia? So we're getting that caught up and moving forward. I don't see a whole lot of money that they're gonna be putting out there for, some of the projects that we need, so we need to stay vigilant on that, and as soon as we can find something that we can get it in, we can move forward with that. I'll continue to monitor that, and Rosanna does an excellent job on that as well. She's a big help, but we are getting the FDOT grants pretty well.
Thank you. So Greg, for each of those facility items, I know you mentioned earlier that there was a maintenance request, 3 different maintenance requests that we could expect to see. Or could you just check to make sure each of those are addressed? So it was grade 9, grade number 10, electrical drives, and then whether or not the mobile harbor frame is being used for moving over the.
Yeah, we'll check on those. Yeah, sometimes you use the harbor frame to work if the gantries are down.
And then the dock, the erosion issue, I know that's in.
Yeah, that's applied for this grants. The other is the work that, we're working on it now, but the essentially only committed police consultants to look at it. Some text, but the actual work hasn't been done, so they're devising a solution.
Thank you. Next up is Commissioner Fuller, Customs House.
Customs House, there was a problem with Customs House last week, the air conditioner, well, the thermostat was blank. They called me and asked me who we could call to repair that. And I said, well, I'll call Kyle and let Kyle get somebody up there to repair that. So I told him I know what it is. The thermostat is blank, the line's clogged. I had the same problem happen in mine a few days before. So they got, who went up there,
They did. I called and spoke to Kyle. Kyle had Stan Harrington call me. I told Stan what needed to be done. But I'm glad you brought that up. The thing that disturbed me, that's a new unit.
yeah,
Okay. The filter hadn't been changed since they installed the unit, so
we got to clean that drain line every month.
if you can't clean it from the inside of the new units, you have to use a shop vac from the outside to extract it.
You can't take the load off and pull bleach down there.
Well, you can, but that doesn't stop it.
No, it's not gonna stop.
Yeah, you can, they can clean up. But I did go to the hardware store to pick up a filter, and I dropped it back to them so that they could change it. So, but that issue, not little. stepped on your clover, but that was.
Yeah, I know Ben went up there and repaired that. They're happy now. I called them. So that, and we're at Customs House, we're waiting, the new Customs House, we're still waiting on the grant. Probably get, all this stuff instead. So hopefully that'll come through now. I'll move on to Army Corps of Engineers, that's all about Customs. Army Corps of Engineers, I got notice the other day that they're gonna have a kickoff meeting. The purpose is to kick off design for Fernandina Harbor maintenance dredging project. That's gonna happen on August 14th. So they'll kick that off and get everything done that they're supposed to do. They'll discuss the maintenance dredging scope, where they're gonna be dredging out there. And they're gonna dredge all the way from cut 1 to cut 6, 36 feet deep, plus 1 foot channel, returning basin, and they'll discuss the disposal of the dredging material. And then the package, procurement package will be done March 6th, 2025. And go fiscally complete on Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. So that's all I have.
Where was that August 14th meeting?
I think it's gonna be a virtual meeting.
Great. You get that? You can spell.
Nothing really to report, the economic development board is going to have new public officers down here in the next month or so. Election time over the year. We'll report there on emergency management, nothing there, and we don't have anything.
It's on the news feeds about the bridge closing, just raising questions about how we're notified in those types of events.
We weren't notified, I was not notified. Really, well, we Jack or be responsible for.
Yeah, like mass text services that are available, I don't know when they deploy those, I don't receive them before. All right, TPO, like I said, there's no meeting tomorrow, July off, maybe there's no meeting in August, and as I said before, Roland Jacobs attended the meeting with me and the last month's meeting. And we did have a follow-up item, to follow with the city with a separate meeting with the TPO, which I'm happy to, here we can include the operator. And then technical advisory committee.
And as you mentioned as well, the TAC is, did not meet, this month, will meet, next month. Chamber of Commerce, so they actually received $1 million state appropriation, for their community land trust project. It's to address workforce housing, which not only affects people in need, but also the business community, as we see. So great job to Regina and Chamber for their efforts there. San Bernardino Beach, we had a mediation. I think it went well. Looking forward to getting the settlement to bring it back for vote. And just like annual,
Yeah, I'd like to say something about the city mediation. I thought the city did a good job. In what the commissioners, stated in the meetings. I really appreciated our mediator, Judge Early was very good at identifying those positions that had consensus and also taking a pragmatic approach. So thank you to the members of the board that came, and just appreciate the city's partnership focusing on moving forward to solve common issues as opposed to fighting. All right, last item, community outreach, Commissioner Fullwood or any other commissioners? So I know we put out, campaign season and there is a meeting on Friday at the Federated Republican Women. Thank you, Rosanna, for publishing the notice of gathering. I think that at least 2 of the board members will be at that meeting. I encourage everyone to.
I don't think you need to publish, gathering, they're very political.
Right. So if other members of the board, would like to attend, I encourage you to come out just to hear, what the candidates are saying, so that you are informed. Rosanna, did you have an administrative report?
Yes, ma'am. Aside from my, report that's included in the meeting packet, may I have some questions about open matters. May I do that? Okay, number 1, Mr. Hale, do you have an update about the coast to coast invoice? Because, the subcontractor legal was asking for it. As of July 2nd, the subcontractor has not been paid yet.
No, there was a mix up in payments to coast.
Right.
But we're correcting that now because all we can see the flow through, but. So have you seen payments? Have they been
I
submitted?
have not.
Okay.
I've asked for the invoice and I have not gotten it.
So are we waiting for an invoice from the subcontractor or?
We're likely gonna have a subcontractor refund one of that payment that we made to them directly, or this is what we want to go for, our construction engineer funds to the contract for the agreement. And so they'll have to refund to us and we'll grab it, but I thought that would.
Do we know how far it is?
I have not seen the invoice, so I don't know.
This is, it shouldn't be anything that, this should be a coast to coast. They, I mean, they understand the paying terms and if they choose not to pay a subcontractor, then they choose not to pay a subcontractor. We can't control that. We will some of our processes.
This doesn't really have anything to do with us anymore. That's conveyed that previously, sent the information to Amy and Greg and Father attorneys. This is not our contract. This is their contract. We don't need to worry about this. If you talk about it, it's their thing.
It's just that OPA is copied on all the inquiry from the subcontractor's legal.
Okay.
So I just-
No, they're not.
Well, they're directed to, it was directed to Patrick, Mr. Korchowski.
I sent everything.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll
so,
take care
okay, thank you. I'm gonna hand deliver the certificate of documentation to the port operator right now, that this needs to go to the tug, on the tug.
Okay.
And also, Mr. Hale, I emailed Kyle Clark to process the certification forms to close out the grants. If you could please remind him, I forwarded the forms to him and I need it back because FDOT is asking for it. And also FDOT is asking for information about the port for their state economic impact. I emailed Kyle Clark for that as well. And copied Patrick.
When is that?
They wanted ASAP because by the end of August. And I'm not getting any kind of reply to
Some
my
of it's
email.
like duplicative of what we report to the FBC. That's what he's asking. We could maybe use some of that same data points.
And FPC is asking if we have any reallocation requests. And we need to, if we do, we need to draft a letter to Chair Alex King and submit it in the August meeting. And also too, I need confirmation on who's going to the August FPC meeting. Last meeting, Commissioner Fullwood volunteered to go because the hotel deadline is coming up.
When is the deadline?
sorry, I think it's August 17th,
August.
August 12th.
I'm
So,
not gonna make a reservation about this minute. I've got till August. I'll make a reservation, don't worry about it. I'm gonna stay there, I got to make a reservation, so I'll take care of it.
so,
Well, I think, I mean, after that, that's after the election, so
Yeah. Like,
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the following.
so, okay, I still don't have confirmation of who's going.
I think the cutoff is in like 2 weeks to make a reservation.
Right. Right,
So we'll register, we'll make sure that someone is going. I think we just need to make sure that we have a.
who's going?
I mean, the way we had set it up originally, it was gonna be me with the vice chair that was gonna go. And Vice Chair Taylor, you said you weren't available. So I'll go.
Okay,
I thought you told me I was,
I didn't tell you you were
Yes,
going,
you
you volunteered.
that's right, you said, okay. So now you
It's not, it's not for me.
okay, that's fine,
Well, it's after the election, so I think we should send it.
yeah, it is.
It is representing the board.
But I won't be out, either one of us won't be off the board.
It's true. Very true.
You take that away from me.
we still haven't heard from Savage about the, matter 007 property appraiser invoices for reimbursement. Total right now is 21,899 cents.
I'm in.
Okay, thank you. The Allied invoice, this is the most recent, they're charging us for the golf cart. I thought the golf cart was off. As you can see, there's a charge for the golf cart.
It's still there.
So should we pay that?
I sent an email to Gerald Freed. He assured me he's gonna look into it. I told him he didn't charge me for it in May, so why are we looking at it in June? I'll follow up and I'll make sure Rosanna knows about it, but it's being investigated.
Okay.
So right now, I'm not processing any payment, even though Savage, funded that.
Okay.
We're using that cash, they were not, we haven't called it off.
Was that related to the roving, person? Cause I know they wanted like a roving, okay.
It's just $100 charge for the golf cart. It's never been on there. So my question was, there was in class, and he said he would look into it.
Yeah, thanks for.
Thank you. There's a biofuel webinar and grant opportunity on July 18th. I encourage the board and the operator to attend. Grant opportunity. Let me know. I distributed the information to all. And I want to remind Chair to please sign the F.G1K57 completion documents that was sent to you yesterday, so I could submit it to FDOT. Thank you. July 24th meeting is just the budget workshop. No other items on the agenda.
That's correct.
Thank you. And the Wi-Fi was checked by the Tech Center IT. I think it's working right now. And the chair purchased frames for the Maritime Day Proclamation certificates to distribute to the port team members. Thank you, Chair. I will have them printed and given to the port operator to distribute to the port members. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other items to be brought up, commissioners?
Yeah, Madam Chair, we need to get these microphones fixed, whatever the problem is, if we need to buy new ones, let's do it, if we need to charge them before the meeting, whatever it is, we need these microphones fixed, I mean, that last meeting, nothing's been done.
It's battery operated and I changed the battery. So before I can buy anything, I need board approval
Well, let's do that.
because it's working. It's working.
No, it's not.
I can't just spend money without board approval. I've been changing the batteries on those microphones. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not an IT person, so I don't know. The board told me to buy these microphones and I did. I don't know what to tell you.
Any other items you brought?
You said you didn't care about it. No, one, all right.
Oh, that's nice.
Does anybody have any problems with the microphone? Because,
Are you able to hear us when you're listening? to
You're
the
good,
video or
okay.
transcript?
yes,
It's good as all, you're good as all.
they're battery operated and I could change the batteries every meeting. I'm just trying to, save money for the board.
You're doing a great job. Thank you. In your IT proposal, if you have any suggested upgrades to our systems, including, your computer or anything else, if there's anything that pain points like that, if we are receiving complaints from the public, if we are, then just, if you provide us an estimate at the budget workshop, if I know it's a lot of work for you, but if you could bring that forward, we would at least have something to consider.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
may not be able to afford it, but then at least we can make that decision based on an informed decision. Any
Yes,
other
ma'am,
items
I
you
will.
brought forward? Thank you so much.